There we go. So apologize for that. So yes, he does actually use this product. So this is what our login screen, or rather, this is what the home screen looks like. Now, the first thing that I hear from a lot of partners and customers alike is that you've changed Windows, and I don't like the new change. How am I going to get back to the old stuff? How am I going to make it look the way it used to look? And okay, I appreciate the feedback. However, I want to turn that question around, and I want to ask all of you. What did you experience before? You had a start menu and you had a desktop. I'm pretty sure those were the two major areas that you worked in. And what I'm going to focus on is the fact that you're looking at a start menu now and you're looking at a desktop. The fact that we've got these two areas is the same experience that you've had all along. I spend 90+% of my day on the desktop. I mean, we all do. That's where we spend all of our time working. And when I need my start menu, I can bring up my start menu like I always did. Now here's what's different, is the start menu is definitely bigger than it used to be. The start menu used to be a multi-tiered, cascaded menuing system that was started for most of us in the lower left-hand corner, and we'd go off and find our applications. Yes, we still have a start menu, but it looks different. And the reason it looks different is because we learned that it's not always a good thing to stay exactly the same. Our Windows Phone, when we launched our Windows Phone 7, one of the things that we learned is that people appreciated being able to see what their applications had to offer before they went into their applications. We referred to that on the phone as the Smart Tile interface, and we brought the Smart Tile interface over to our Windows 8 platform. Why? Because, as Neil was talking about earlier, people like to see the same things in multiple places. I'm just going to give you a quick little side story. As Neil was describing, how technology's changed. I've got a TomTom that I've been using for, 7 years. I love it. It keeps me going where I need to go. And what I just noticed about, maybe this is about 3 months, maybe 4 months ago, is that I was trying to do a pinch on my TomTom when I wanted to zoom out. And the TomTom doesn't support pinch. In other words, the fact that it's an electronic device, I immediately assumed it worked like all my other electronic devices. I've gotten so used to that pinch and zoom capability that I'm disappointed that some of my technology doesn't offer it. So the fact that Windows 8 shares the same start screen as my Windows Phone actually helps me. And I'm going to take it one step further. I love the existence of live tiles. I love the fact that I can see what's going on before I start an application. So yes, we certainly have a lot of applications and they're arranged in groups, but I can go and see information. I can see that, well, I live in Rockville, Maryland, for those of you who don't know, and it's currently 61 degrees. I don't need to see anything more than that. That's the little bit of information. Yes, if I click on that particular live tile, I can go in and get additional information. It's going to give me more details about what the weather is. I can certainly go over and get other information, other demographic information regarding the weather in the Rockville area. And yes, I can certainly go to other places if I want to see weather in other locations. So I know that we're in a conference center and we never get to go outside and actually see what's going on outside. It's warmer in Maryland than it is here. What's up with that? Bottom line is, this is certainly information that I have access to at my fingertips, but I didn't actually need to go into the application to see that information. My mail shows me my mail before I go in. My calendar shows me my calendar before I go in. I can get other forms of other information. So there's some financial information. If I want to bring that up, I can bring that up early on. Again, I can see it before I go into it. If I'm looking for news, pictures, friends, all of those things are available to me before I go into the application, which in many cases alleviates the need to go into the application at all. Now that's a great starting point, but a lot of you are going to say, what about all the applications that I've been running for years? Those applications still work the same. And as I said, I spend 90% of my day or rather I should say on my desktop. My desktop still has my applications. You know, a lot of you are going to point out, but Steve, the start menu isn't there anymore. The little start icon isn't there. Well, now, I can't think of a keyboard that doesn't have the start on the keyboard itself, the Windows key. I know that all of our tablets have the little start. And frankly speaking, if you're using a touch device like I'm using up here, I can always swipe and get the start and bring it up that way. Point is, there are many ways to get to that start. It doesn't have to be in one location. But if you are using a device with a mouse, all you need to do is go to the lower left corner and the start menu will appear, or rather the start screen icon will appear, and it'll take you to this full screen, this full tile interface. So it's still there. We've optimized the use of screen space by making it vanish when you don't need it, so that it's not always sitting there using real estate, but at the same time, it's still available, it's still accessible whenever you need to use whenever you need to get to start. But you spend most of your time in the applications. So we've got applications, and I mean, the traditional office applications, of course, like Word, they still work, just like they always did. Is Word a great touch experience, though? And honestly, no. Word 2010, not the best touch experience. It wasn't designed as much for touch as we needed to be. Now, the good thing is we did move to the tab ribbon interface, and that tab ribbon interface is actually pretty good when it comes to needing to touch things and leverage the touch interface. It does work reasonably well, but I love the fact that just because I'm on a touch device doesn't mean I can't bring in a mouse. I can add a mouse to this environment. So when I need accuracy, I can bring in my mouse and get my accuracy. As a matter of fact, I love this Samsung, don't get me wrong, but my favorite Windows 8 experience was an HP TouchSmart, in which it was both the keyboard and the touch screen, and it had one of the pivot screens. The advantage was I didn't use it as a touch device solely, I used it as a laptop. I used major gestures when I wanted to move around by touching on the screen, and then as soon as I got to the application that I wanted to work in, I was using the little eraser mouse, or I was using my mouse along the side, I was using my keyboard. The fact that I just did that, it was seamless, it was just instinctive. I switched from one mode to the other. Honestly, I believe that that's one of the refreshes in technology that we're going to see, is that we're going to be selling a lot more of these multimodal devices that can do a little bit of both. Yes, I can certainly do it here with the Samsung 7. I can add a keyboard, I can add a mouse. Having it integrated all in one, I think is going to be a significantly better experience for everyone involved. Nevertheless, I want to make sure that you understood that yes, we can still use those classic technologies. I can, of course, also use our new technologies. So if I want to go off and use the new PowerPoint, the new Office experience is also available for us here as well. Same platform, same technology. You've seen all of these applications working. Now, why do we have this whole new application environment? Why did Microsoft decide that we wanted to create these new apps as well as support the traditional desktop apps? Weren't the traditional desktop apps enough? And they're good, don't get me wrong, but the traditional desktop apps are not necessarily great consuming technologies. They're great for producing information, but what about the consuming side? What about the purely touch environment? We wanted to make sure that we could address both of those marketplaces with the same technology, but really the applications need to be designed accordingly. You don't just take Word and make everything bigger. You really need to look at it differently if you're going to have a consumer-based application versus a production-based application. The challenge, we wanted to keep the production side, we wanted to keep the consumer side, we wanted to do it all in the same device. Our decision, we're going to offer the opportunity to create applications in the new interface, in our new Windows 8 interface. So we've got the ability to create applications in the new Windows 8 interface. We've of course got the ability to create applications still on the desktop. You don't have to choose. You can use both, and you can use both on the same device. Let's take that one step further. We're going to share that exact same technology, the new interface, the new application interface. We're going to share that with our WinRT devices, so that an application that you develop for the Intel AMD platform could also work on a WinRT device. It's also going to be supported by our Windows Phone 8 devices. In other words, the same touch type experience, the same new interface type experience available across all of those platforms. So those of you who do development understand that we've got one target platform, but technically 3 target platforms available to you, touch-only devices, phone-only devices, and of course, the full productive desktop device, but the same application can work in all spaces. So if your corporate client needs to deploy multiple types of devices for different types of users within the organization, we can support all of those modalities with the same deployment infrastructure, with the same set of technologies. We've got a solution that covers all of that. So I consider that to be a really strong message. I want to go ahead and just finish up a little bit more in the demonstration here. A couple of things that you should also be aware of. We have added an aspect of contextuality to the overall Windows environment. In other words, Windows has, one of the things that made Office strong was that we took a common interface and we put it on the word processor and the spreadsheet and the presentation components within that Office family. So once you picked up a skill in one product, you could move it over to another product just as easily. We realized that that needed to be raised up a level. That once you picked up a skill in the Windows environment, wouldn't it be great if that skill could be used over and over again? So for example, if I want to go search for something, I don't have to understand necessarily how to search for something in an individual application. I choose this contextual search, and it actually is going to let me search across all of the applications and all of the technologies that are on my Windows 8 device. So if I'm looking for an artist or if I'm looking for a piece of software, it doesn't matter what I'm looking for. Literally, I use the same search for all of those components. So if I'm just going to go ahead and type in one of my favorite demos is just to go into Paint. I type in Paint, and sure enough, I'm going to come up with the Paint as the program, but honestly, there are other things that might have come up. If there was a settings for Paint, it would have shown up in this section. So there are other things that would have appeared as far as leveraging that overall. Now, as you saw, I was flipping through, and I went down here to the Microsoft Marketplace, and the idea is that I did a search in one area, and then I started the app after the search, and notice the results. The Marketplace has already searched for Paint and given me back my Paint results. In other words, because this contextuality of search is now integrated throughout the product, you literally do something and then figure out where you wanted to do it, not the other way around. I didn't have to start the Marketplace and do a search for Paint, and then start something else and search again and search again and search again. I started my search and it didn't give me the results I was looking for, so I went somewhere else and the search was still there. That's just on its own, that's a huge time saver. As you start embracing the fact that it's searching, but it's searching done at a different level. It's searching done in a completely different approach. You'll find that that's a very exciting component. Yes, at this point I could download and install a Paint program accordingly, not the purpose of the demonstration. But I just wanted to give you an idea. That's one of what we call the charms. And you can't see it on the screen, but I'm swiping over from the right-hand edge to bring up my charms. If you're using a mouse, you just go into the upper right-hand corner and drag down, and the charms will automatically appear for you. And there's several other charms that you see there. I obviously went to the search. We've got our devices charms. We've got our settings charms. The settings automatically are contextual. So in other words, if I go to the settings now, I'm looking at the settings associated with the start screen, the start environment. But if I go to my desktop and I do that same settings, I'm going to be looking at the settings associated with my desktop. Now some of you may ask, Steve, you're in PowerPoint. Why didn't it give you the settings for PowerPoint? Because PowerPoint is a classic desktop application, and desktop applications do not understand that contextualization, that aspect of the search. That's one of the new application capabilities. So we support the classic apps, we also support this contextual component that goes across all of these. So I'm going to just head back here to the start. Just want to finish this up. Just want to make sure that you also understand that if you want to make changes to your start, the changes that you make to the start, very visual as far as the changes are concerned. If I just want to move an individual tile around, I literally just drag the tile and I can move it within its group. I can move it over to other groups. I can even create a group in between. So rearranging tiles is a very easy, very fluid process. If I want to change my groups, I'm going to use a classic pinch and condense motion. So I just pinch there with 2 hands, or rather 2 fingers, and when I do that pinch, I can now take an individual group and I can rearrange the groups and put them in a different order if I so desire, if I have an interest in rearranging those, and as soon as I'm done, I re-expand and I'm back out to where I was. So very easy to make those types of changes. Some of you may say, well, what about the other applications on your system? How do I add applications that aren't there? I swipe up from the bottom, and I get my all apps, and I can select from my all apps. And I can then choose any of these applications that are installed on my system and put them into my start, or they're all here. This is just the field of apps, if that's what you're looking for. Obviously, when you're looking at the field of apps, this field, they're not live tiles at this point. They're just the applications themselves. As soon as you select something and you go back to your start, that's when, if it is available, if it does have the live tile capability, it will automatically offer that. You can, of course, turn off the live tile, the automation if you want, but honestly, I'm not a believer in that. I think that that's, it's the thing that we've been trying to add to Windows. Wow. I'm going to say maybe back as far as Windows 95, when we tried to make the active desktop, maybe even before that. We've been trying to bring information so it's always available. You remember gadgets and all that. It was all about bringing information to you. The live tiles, I think we finally hit upon it. Like I said, we hit upon it with the Windows Phone, and I believe it carries forward. And for those of you who will get a chance to attend my server breakout on Sunday, I'm a firm believer that live tiles should be on servers as well. And I know that there's server administrators in here that I just made your blood curdle. Oh, common user interface on my server? What are you talking about? I want my menus. You can still get that on your servers. But honestly, think about the live tile concept. A tile that could expose a piece of information that you could then dig into if you wanted to dig in more details. So you need a live tile that maybe changed from green to red, telling you that something was wrong, maybe told you in 1 sentence or less what was wrong, and when you tapped on it, it took you right into that area of your management environment where you could resolve that particular issue. I think live tiles live for servers. So that's just my opinion. So I spent a lot of time with Windows 8. I know that Neil wants me to also make sure that we cover just a little bit of the new Office, and there are two aspects of the new Office that I want to cover. I know that Neil did mention that we've got Link and OneNote that are available for the WinRT environment, for this touch environment. These are preview apps right now, but the reason I wanted to bring this up is because this is where we're pushing our technology. This is where we want to go with this technology. Not available across all of our products yet, but OneNote is a great example. That here I am. I've got and I can sit here and take additional notes if I need to. Now, and yes, I should really be using my real keyboard, but I'm not. Is time, etc. I was on a plane flying out here, and I found that I didn't need to break out a keyboard to get my work done. I did break out my mouse. I did use the touch keyboard on the tablet, but I'm a big guy. I don't fit in coach seats really well, and I definitely do not fit in coach seats with a clamshell laptop, because that laptop lid is right about there, and especially the person in front of me is just leaned back. It's right about there for me, and I can't see a thing. And so have many of you heard it referred to as the T-Rex motion, where you tip the laptop and rotate it up, and now your arms are like this, and you're doing all your typing? It's the T-Rex? Well, yep, so that's how I had to work in the past. No more. I had my tablet out. It was there on the tray. I could tip it up when I wanted to see it differently. I had my mouse when I wanted to have the accuracy of movement. The point was, this was just a great productive environment for me. Now, in this environment, I've got some text here, and I'm just going to go ahead and highlight some of that text. And one of the things that I'm intrigued by is the new ways that we've thought about how the user interface should look. I'm used to, when I'm in Word and Excel and PowerPoint, that we brought up a little mini toolbar that I use the ribbon and the tools that are up there on the ribbon. I love this new toolbar that's associated with the OneNote experience, because this is a touch-based experience. I touched once to bring this up, and from this, I'm able to go ahead and say, well, I'd like to change, I'd like this to be bold. And so I'm going to go ahead and boldface it. Maybe I want to change the font size itself. So I choose the font size, and I get a font size spinner, and now I get to spin the font size to the size that I want it to be. And let's go ahead and try changing the color. And so now I've got a color chooser, and I'd like to choose from the greens. And so I'm going to go with the dark green. The point is, this is a touch interface. And I love the fact that Microsoft definitely thinking, okay, what works best in the touch experience for that interface? So when we start looking at applications that are written for the touch environment, we're going to see that type of innovation and that type of presentation brought into those environments. But we want to take that one step further. I want to just go over to one of the traditional Office applications. And in a traditional Office application, I think we've done a little PowerPoint. Let's go ahead and bring up a little Word. And some of you may notice there's something happening on my, no, you probably can't see it, apologize. I've got actually two versions of Word running. I've got my Word 2010 and my Word 2013 running at the same time. Point is that we've got, so we can deal with our applications in all of these environments. But we also have the opportunity, we also have the opportunity to make sure that we're using these in an appropriate way. So, for instance, when I'm looking at my interface here, one of the things that I can request to turn on is I can put in an icon. If I know that I'm using a touch device, I can add an icon to my little menu at the top, which is called the touch mode icon. And this allows me to shift in and out of touch mode with a single touch. So if I need extra desk space, I can turn off touch mode, but when I need to be able to work with my big fat finger, I can turn on touch mode, and you may have noticed it automatically expands things and just makes things a little bit more roomy for using that touch experience. Excellent. Thinking about the technology. It's the same application, it's in the same environment, but there are going to be multiple ways that I use it. When I was on the plane, I wanted to be able to use my finger. When I'm sitting at my desk, I want to be able to use my arc mouse. And I want to be able to leverage as much of the screen as I can in that environment. And that's part of what that gives me. So I know I'm running out of time because I've talked quite a bit here, and I know that we've got some more interviews we want to talk to. So we will be doing some more Office. There will be an Office kiosk at our booth. We want to make sure that you come by and take a look at the new Office. I just want to wrap things up and say, you know, I've been talking a lot about this whole consumerization. What have we done for businesses? Well, aside from the fact that we run all the applications and we can do all the things that you expect as a business user of these applications, so just to make sure that you're aware of what other things we're doing for business. How many of you work with customers who are in a regulated or an industry where compliance is a requirement? I mean, pretty much everybody should raise their hands, because I don't care if you're selling to academia, if you're selling to government, if you're selling to the military, if you're selling to legal, if you're selling to the financial industry, you're in a compliance-based world. And you should be aware that obviously we've had BitLocker as an option. If you went with Windows 7 and added the software assurance, or if you went with the Windows 8, you could get a hold of BitLocker. For those of you not aware, I just want to make sure you're all aware, we've pushed BitLocker down into the Pro SKU. So anybody who is buying Windows 8 Pro now has access to BitLocker and BitLocker to Go. So you've got that compliance capability to offer to all of your customers out of the box day one. If you need to go further, certainly look and go further. But I'm just saying, you've got it there and it's now available to you, and it should be part of your pitch. And you go, well, wait a second, Steve, I used to use BitLocker as my pitch to get people to go to software assurance. What am I going to use now to help them go to software assurance? Well, we've got some enterprise capabilities that were in Windows 7, they're still in Windows 8, but we've added some. And one of the favored technologies for that is this. Now, for those of you who can't see it, it's just a USB stick. It's not just a USB stick. It's definitely one of two types of USB sticks that support our new Windows to Go. This is the same desktop that I'm running here. If my machine had failed, if my machine had been lost, if anything had gone wrong in my traveling here, I would have borrowed somebody's Windows Vista quality, Windows 7 quality, or heaven forbid, you've already got a Windows 8 machine, Windows 8 quality machine, plugged this in, and been able to do my entire presentation off of this Windows to Go. Everything I need is either here or out there in the cloud, and it literally lets me connect to all of that. This is a Windows 8 enterprise capability, but this is huge because this gives me my productivity desktop without me having to carry my entire machine around. So now, when I go on a vacation with my wife and she tells me, Steve, you are not taking the computer with you. Don't tell her. Anyway, so Neil, I want to go ahead and hand this back to you, and I will get your presentation back here.